Hi, welcome to the TCPalm editorial board meeting to interview candidates in the election for Port Pierce City Commission. I'm Larry Reisman, columnist and community editor, and I'm joined by fellow editorial board members Adam Neal and Blake Fontenay. And special thanks to our candidates for meeting with us today and streamlining this process by completing the questionnaires. The editorial board members have read them. The questionnaires and replays of our editorial board interviews can be found at tcpalm.com/opinion and tcpalm.com/elections. At the conclusion of this interview, editorial board members will discuss possibly writing an editorial to recommend a candidate in this race. Blake will lead the questioning and open it up to other editorial board members at the end. We might end up having more of a conversation than just a simple Q&A, and our goal is to be done in about 45 minutes or so. Because of time constraints, we do ask that you keep your answers concise. So we will start the questioning off with Blake.
Thank you, Larry. And what we will do for the questioning, we will go for the first round in alphabetical order. The question will be posed to Henry Duhart first, then to Arnold Gaines, and then to Reggie Sessions. And then Mr. Gaines will be the first to answer our next question, and Mr. Sessions will be the first to answer the third question, and we will alternate in that manner. So, Henry, first question, what are your plans to help the economic development of Fort Pierce?
For me, my biggest plan within the first year, as I stated on my questionnaire, was to be able to better prepare each individual to be a part of the growth that is already happening here. I find a lot in District 1 that we have a lot of members of our community who don't, even with the knowledge, still lack the capital to participate in bidding processes, to participate in ownership of homes and different things that resources that we have at the community for those who want to get into entrepreneurship. So my first plan is to build a workforce and to increase qualified workers here in District 1 with the type of work that pays people better wages, better benefits, so that not only can we increase economics here, but give the people of District 1 the ability to combat gentrification so they can participate in the progress by increasing their own capital themselves through trade programs and get people the right kind of jobs. And then also bringing in more industries that think about the environment when it comes to development, but also can add to better paid jobs for our community. And the biggest thing with economics, I think, for any thriving city is arts and culture. So really participating with the thriving art community here that we already have and making sure we show the diversity of arts, culture, religions, and beliefs in Fort Pierce to better attract people to our community and also to help build economics. Any great city has arts and culture as their number one or top priority for investment. And I think that's something very huge that we need to focus on. But the biggest thing too is just the fact that District 1 is mostly a Black and brown community who are in poverty. So with this progress, they need the capital to fight back. So the biggest thing I want to do is not just grow Fort Pierce, but better prepare each individual to be a part of that progress.
Thank you. Arnold, same question. What are your plans to help the economic development of Fort Pierce?
But the first thing I would do, first of all, thank you guys for inviting me for this. The first thing I would do if elected city commissioner is to sit down and see what's already on the board for the commissioners and what's been done so far. I have already started sitting down with business owners in District 1 to get their ideas and to see where they want to go, but also asking them, will they be willing to train residents of District 1 so they won't have jobs but have careers. We have to be smart about this. We have business owners who are coming in our city who knows that the growth is coming. This is the area to be, and they're not just coming here on a whim. So they are the business leaders. They are the ones that have invested the resources to come here. So it would be smart just to sit down with the current business leaders, ask them, hey, what can the city do to help you train and give jobs to the people in District 1 to make Fort Pierce a better place? So the first thing I would do is I would sit down and absorb what the commissioners have already done, what plans are already on the board, and then take it a further step by meeting with business owners who are in Fort Pierce, who have already established businesses and who knows what's going on and how to direct this growth. So that's what I would do.
Thank you. And Reggie, same question for you. What are your plans to help the economic development of Fort Pierce?
Fort Pierce was at its best uh, as far as economics was concerned back when the fruit industry was at an all-time high. However, as a result of NAFTA and the canker, fruit industry went down and employment for blue-collar workers went down. What has happened here recently in the city of Fort Pierce has been development regarding the port of Fort Pierce, which we see over now as we cross over to North Hutchinson Island, a golden opportunity, a hidden secret, one that I worked so hard for when I was in office to try to make it a reality, now coming into fruition. The other industry is the marine industry, an industry that you can see coming to an all-time booming high in the northwest section of Fort Pierce, which happens to be adjacent to District 1, which is the race that we're involved in presently here with my colleagues. But with that being said, in order to get Fort Pierce back booming economically the way that it was back in the mid-70s, is that we're going to have to educate and train the blue-collar workers so that they can handle the demand. And the demand, as far as Fort Pierce is going right now, happens to be the marine industry and the port industry in terms of jobs and employment. So with that, city government has got to get involved in making sure that the labor force, the citizens, have the proper training and work with these industries in terms of job fairs, when it's time to hire, because right now we're going through a crisis. And as most of you are aware, there's more than enough work, but nobody wants to work. So we're going to have to come up with a comprehensive plan to put people back to work. Now, when you show up at businesses, especially a lot of small businesses, you'll see at the door, we're closed because of a lack of help. And that's just unheard of. So the opportunity is there, but it's just a matter of revitalizing the citizens, putting them back to work, putting them back in the mainstream so that they can work. And if that's done, this will become a more conducive place, like it is to the north of us in Vero and to the south in Palm Beach, as far as putting people to work.
Thank you. All right, for our next round of questions, we'll start with Arnold. What do you see as the top three challenges facing Fort Pierce over the next decade?
Fort Pierce over the next decade will be moving as far as Commissioner Sessions says. We have moved away from the fruit grove industry, and he is absolutely right that the port is coming. The port is here. Jobs are coming. So we have to make sure that citizens of Fort Pierce are trained so they can be the first ones to get those jobs. One of the second thing we would have to do is we have to learn how to talk to each other and also be able to work with each other. Right now, there is a disconnect between the city commissioners and the county commissioners. But if everybody learn how to work together, it benefits not only Fort Pierce, but the entire county. The county cannot run without Fort Pierce. Port St. Lucie can't do it. Port St. Lucie can't run it together. It has to be a united front. The third thing is always going back to the kids, the youth of the city. We have to reach out to the youth of the city. We have to get them in training programs. We have to get them to want to stay in Fort Pierce and make Fort Pierce a better place. However, we have to give them something to offer. The city has to be able to open up some of these vacant houses around here and give kids a place to learn how to do a trade. A trade could be a plumber. You know, we all on here know how much a plumber charges to come unclog a toilet. It's a trade. We have to teach these kids that, hey, the streets are not it. Get a trade. Learn how to cut a yard professionally. Learn how to fix a stove or an air conditioner. So it's the business owners who are already here have to work with the city to train these kids. And that way they will not be looking for jobs and people working for jobs because they have a career. So those are the three things that I would focus on or I think facing Fort Pierce, District 1.
Thank you. Reggie, same question. What do you see as the top 3 challenges for Fort Pierce over the next decade?
Well, as far as the challenge of Fort Pierce, it's a challenge that a lot of cities share throughout the whole entire nation. And that is, again, like I indicated earlier, the impact that COVID-19 has had on our city in terms of the citizens and small businesses at a point now where they're at an all-time low. Unemployment is out there and businesses are leaving. We've got to come up with a comprehensive plan to be able to attract and keep these businesses in place so that we can generate revenue. Prime example, we had a store that had been here for my entire life, Men's Rags, left out of here about 4 months ago. We don't even have a place now for a young man like myself or you to even go and buy a pair of shoes locally. We have to go all the way to Vero Beach or Port St. Lucie. There's no reason why the government did not reach out to that business when you look at the stock of buildings that we have here in the city to try to salvage that relationship and keep that business in place, just like so many other businesses that have left. So that's a major issue, trying to retain and keep businesses in light of the pandemic and what's happening. Another thing, as Esquire, my colleague Arnold pointed out earlier, is that there's a problem with our youth here. It has been an ongoing problem. There's a gap there with our juvenile crime delinquency rate. We have a very high juvenile delinquency, high rate of crime with young people. The crime is coming from the young people. And with that being said, there needs to be a greater concentration with our police department and the citizens so that they can have a more conducive relationship to work together to eradicate the juvenile crime rate in the city of Fort Pierce. Everybody shouldn't be locked up. Now, don't get me wrong. You commit crimes. Some people need to go to jail, but everybody does not need to go to jail. There's so many young people out there that are reaching out that would love to participate and be productive citizens, but they just don't know how. They were reared up in homes, perhaps, where they didn't have somebody to motivate them, and now they're out on the streets, and the streets will grab you and get your attention when you can't find that attention in home. So, in essence, we need to have more of a concentration on our juvenile delinquency rate to pull our young people in is number 2. And last but not least, what comes to mind is that code enforcement and cleaning up our city is imperative. Right now, there's so many eyes looking at Fort Pierce, but yet and still there's a negative stigma that has been placed here with regards to crime and dilapidation of buildings and structures and infrastructure. We've got to improve it because the traffic is coming. And we want to make sure that when that traffic rides down Orange Avenue and Okeechobee Road, that they're going to be able to ride from the turnpike to City Hall without their car falling apart. Being able to ride from 95 to the downtown area where they can see without so much debris and trees and waste. There needs to be a greater concentration with code enforcement in our city to clean it up. And I think that would help us out tremendously. So with those three things, those are three topics of major concern of mine that I would hope that we could address.
Thank you. Henry, same question. What would you see as the top three challenges facing Fort Pierce over the next decade?
Over the next 10 years, so in the next decade, I'd be 37. I'm 27 right now. And I think the responsibility that we're all talking about as wanting to be leaders of this community is the need to make sure that we train our young people to grow to what they want us to be. I grew up in Fort Pierce and I'm only 27, and I am a seed of the last probably decade of whatever efforts we put into the young people in our community. And I can say that, who better to lead, because the question is not the top three priorities of how to be a part of, not to what's going on, but how do we prepare the residents of District 1 to participate in the obvious growth that is already happening in the Church of Coast. I have been around, and it's very apparent, not just the Fort Pierce, but everyone around this area, the growth in the diamond in the rough is very obvious. You can go to Port St. Lucie, Stewart, Vero Beach, and you can point out differences that are very obvious. So for me, it's not about, it's only about three specific things, which is preparing the constituents of District 1 to better take the process and get a bigger piece of the pie. And how do we do that? One, people need finances. People don't even know about the process that the city owns properties and they bid them off every once in a while. Sometimes you can get one for $3, $5, $7, $8, $10,000. Can get a duplex, whatever. But so many people of District 1 don't know that, and two, once you find out, get the capital to be able to participate in that process. So the most important thing for the people of District 1 is to be able to, a leader who will be a doer, a leader who will prepare them to be able to participate by increasing their capital, increasing their household income. How do we do that? Instead of pushing a lot of people towards the typical things that we thought would make income, what is needed right now is a workforce. And it's not that we don't got people who are capable. District 1 is a strong community. I grew up in it. My grandmother is raised and she is buried here. Many of us grew up here with strong people. Miss Joyce Jackson, we have Pastor Hazel, we have Mr. Rufus Alexander, we have Mr. Duval, we have Mr. Drummond. There are powerful leaders, and this is a strong community. So what I'll first do is the rebranding, to put out the image of District 1 in what we are in Fort Pierce. Because instead of showing the things that do not paint us in a great light, I want to start typing in Fort Pierce and District 1 and not seeing shootings, but seeing growth, seeing beautification. So rebranding will be very, very, very important to me. And I can do that through social media. I branded myself, whether it is in my music, my activisms. It's not that hard when you know how to use the tools of the 21st century to rebrand Fort Pierce, to first show what we truly are to the outside and the inside. And that can include murals, for example, the Lincoln Park Theater, which has finally got a diagram of what it would look like. What changes would I make? Well, as a commissioner, I love the diagram. I think it'd be great for the Lincoln Park community, but instead of the faces of those in the history books, let's put the faces of those here in our own community. The highwaymen, Mr. Little, who on the 1st of November, they'll be voting to name the top floor of the Sunrise Theater, where Black folks couldn't even get in at one point. They're gonna be renaming it after a local music art teacher. And we need to start embedding visually, when you drive through Fort Pierce, our community, our culture, our people, our legends, our greats. And that's what I would paint, beautification. Make sure we do what we can to spend more money on beautification projects, and not just one. And whether that is using the general funds that exist, or if Henry Duhart has to go to Tallahassee or message the mayor of Atlanta or whoever to get the private or grant funding needed to get that money to finally beautify our community. Because if we can't get it in City Hall, then Henry Duhart will go somewhere else to get it, because networking, a commissioner who understands the power of networking in the 21st century is important. So make sure we build a workforce and certify people in better jobs, such as trades that get people in there faster, and apprenticeships. Many people in Fort Pierce who I know who are my age or older, not just young people, older people have finally gotten into a trade. I got people who are 50 years old and 27 who got degrees, but got into a trade that's local. They go out to Kings Highway. Now they're making $25, $30 an hour, of all ages. So we need to build capital within the individuals so they can participate in the changes. We need to secure our communities. Now, one of the biggest things I want to do in the first year or two is get the grant funding to supply as many home security cameras to people who live in District 1, no matter where you are. Home security is a human right. And I bet over time, you will see that the more home security cameras that we invest to these communities that have had high crime, biggest thing is theft. Our senior citizens and our young families and our children should be afraid of someone stealing from them. And that is the biggest crime that we have now. And I think how we fix that is by putting more home security cameras throughout our community and giving them out to them and doing studies to see if that works. Because we invest money in other things that don't always work. But I think getting home security cameras will help not only lessen crime, but stop people from even thinking to do it, because the likelihood of getting caught. We got to raise that likelihood of getting caught in District 1 and help the law enforcement. Also, we need to make sure we get those same people not just trying to increase catching people, but giving people a reason not to do it in the first place. So that's why those trades come in, so we can give people capital so they don't have to do that, don't have to steal from the senior citizens or the people of their own community. They can get a great job and be a supplier and a provider. And that is what we must do first. And lastly, the biggest thing that we must do in District 1 is increase ownership. What we're talking about is a particular community that is fighting what we call gentrification. Gentrification is just a process of change. It's not about not being gentrified, but who is doing the gentrifying. I want to make sure the District 1 residents are more part of the changes of gentrification to change their community and lead the gentrification in their community and increase ownership. Home ownership, property ownership, more of us going down and being a part of the bid process. If we can't get one person to do it, maybe we get 3-4 people to go down, and let's make sure our people own District 1 again. Those are the things that I'm going to do, not what is happening, but what is already happening and how can District 1 get a bigger piece of the pie. That's the kind of leader I will be.
Okay, thank you very much. Reggie, let's start with you on this next question, and we're going to take one from a reader. We've had a couple have come in through our live chat, and one of the readers was asking about what the candidates' feelings are on housing costs. As you know, they're going up all over the Treasure Coast. So what role do you think that you could have as a city commissioner in driving some of those costs down or keeping them down?
Well, as far as housing costs is concerned, I tell you, for the cost of a home to finally be considered something that's high is a blessing. When you look at the value of homes in the city of Fort Pierce. Now, why it may be a national problem and it's somewhat of a problem nationwide, but to finally see the value of homes increase is a blessing. And the reason why it's a blessing is because we're able to take, at least the city government is able to take the tax dollars and utilize those dollars to improve so many things with regards to infrastructure, police departments, and the list just goes on and on and on. But the value of homes increasing in Fort Pierce, again, it's a blessing and it's good. And a lot of it has to do, and you can see that it's happening because when you look at Starbucks and you look at Chick-fil-A's and you look at port development, these type of businesses don't come in areas that there is no positive future in. They see where there are rooftops, and there have to be rooftops of value when they do their assessments before they come in and put these kinds of restaurants in place. So Fort Pierce recently, within the last year and a half, 2 years, we have a Chick-fil-A, we have a Starbucks. And the reason why we have that is because as the caller, the writer indicated earlier, the value of homes are going up, and it's looking a lot better here. When you go to the bank now, you'll have something that you can hand over across the counter and say, now look, I'm worth something. And because I'm worth something, I'm demanding something. So it's a blessing to be able to own property and something of value, but we want to keep that ownership, as Duhart pointed out earlier, we want to make sure that ownership stays home and we want to benefit from it. We And when I say we, the citizens themselves, people that are here, should be the beneficiary of these benefits that are now increasing.
Thank you. Henry, same question. What are your thoughts about the high housing costs on the Treasure Coast, and what, if anything, can and should be done to keep housing affordable in Fort Pierce?
Yeah, so I mean, the value of a home going up is not a bad thing. I would say, I mean, if you own a home and the value of your home goes up, even when you purchase a home, it's not necessarily a bad thing. So I think the solution actually that is needed is two things: not just thinking about home ownership, but sometimes even renters. You know, people who just are paying rent because we have a mixed group. Not everybody owns homes; a lot of people are paying rent. So when it comes to homeowners and people looking to purchase a home, not saying that we can really do anything about decreasing or increasing the value. If the value is going up, that's a logistical, something is happening in that community, like pointed out before, that is allowing that, because people, it's not just the property, but the things within radius of the property. People understand what goes into calculating the value of a property, even the school districts here and whatever. So I think the real question, the solution is more programs to assist people of all age groups to participate in home ownership. That is what we're talking about. So when it comes to that, not that we can control the price, but getting more people, increasing the doorway for more people to go step into ownership, to step into home ownership. So for me, I would just do my due diligence to work with all the different organizations that exist, both associations and programs already, because there are a lot, and I find a lot of times, not that we don't have resources here, just people don't always know how to find them sometimes. And I think I've shown that I can be a connector of information by using social media and tech and different algorithms and AI to push messages to people who are already on these platforms. That's where everybody is. So for me, increasing more programs for people to participate in home ownership is a must. And that is possible. There are diagrams that already exist in the area. So maybe as a city commissioner, bringing them in, talking with them, seeing how we can combine our powers, our sources, and our network to get this information out to more people, to get more grant funding. I mean, examples, we do partnerships all the time to help other organizations that do it already increase their capabilities, such as the Lincoln Park Martin Luther King Committee, which I'm a part of. They partner with the city. Now they have not only access to the stuff they could do, but they have access to the city's grant department. And you increase what is already existing to help a community. So I think the real answer is, the real response to the constituent that asks that is, as a commissioner, I will make sure I do my part to get more programs to allow us to participate in that process. That may mean lowering certain, inputs or whatever, to make sure that everybody participates in it. Secondly, when it comes to renters, because people do rent too, and I think rent could be more affordable than it is. I think we just need to take a look, and I wouldn't know until I'm elected to office to really get those answers, but to take a look at, we talk all the time about making things beneficial for industries when it comes to maybe impact fees, or making things beneficiary for like even selling properties for dirt cheap with someone who has a plan to better it when it comes to the bidding process. So why not do the same thing here? Are we doing all we can to help landlords not only be more productive, but more present? So I think the bigger question is not what necessarily I will do to lower the property values, but what will I do to make sure we hold landlords in our area accountable, and make sure that we on the city are doing our part to aid them if there is a place that we can be middle ground wise, which happens all the time in City Hall. We make deals, we make things that make sense. We have incentives with results. That happens all the time. So I think the question for renters is to make sure we're doing our part as a city to aid our landlords, but at the same time, make sure we're holding them accountable to what they're doing with how much they're charging, and see where we can go to kind of make a better system for renters and homeowners, more programs to be more involved.
Thank you. Arnold, same question. What are your thoughts on the rising cost of property values on the Treasure Coast, and specifically as it relates to Fort Pierce?
Okay. Home ownership is the American dream. Let's just get that straight. And I concur with Commissioner Sessions that the home prices in Fort Pierce, especially in the northwest part of Fort Pierce, is a good thing. It gives somebody some ownership. For the last 10 years, I've been telling people in my community to stop selling your grandparents' houses that they worked for and the land that they worked for something cheap. Keep your home. It's gonna go up, and you'll understand why. But the gist of this question to me is this. The city, as a city commissioner, we can do all the grants we want to help people get get loans, get homeowners or whatever. But if they can't afford to keep the home and have a career or something to keep your home, it's lost money. The biggest concern I've heard going around the city of Fort Pierce right now is this high rent for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and all of their checks are going to rent. I do not care about a landlord coming in Fort Pierce, buying a property and fixing up the property to improve the overall look of Fort Pierce. But what I do have a problem with is when I go to some of these properties and they're getting benefits from the city or some type of grants from the city, and you go look at these properties, and these properties are almost unlivable, and you're charging $1,200 to $1,300 a month for a family to stay in, where the air conditioning barely works, the windows have holes in them, it's rats and roaches, and the landlords are saying, hey, pay the rent or get out. Again, I'm not against landlords. However, as a city commissioner, we have to do a better job to say, landlord, and you have to fix these buildings. You cannot have people living in buildings and homes charging $13,000, $14,000 a month just because the property value is rising due to the economic benefits that are coming, and the city sit back and don't do nothing. Commissioner said something earlier about code enforcement. Code enforcement really should start riding around and looking at some of these buildings. And we need to start sending letters to some of these landlords, some of these overgrown lots. I mean, just send something to these landlords and say, hey, we want you to be a part of Fort Pierce. However, you have to do your part. We're trying to do something special in Fort Pierce, and you're trying to do something. We're trying to do something beautiful. And if you're not going to do it beautiful, we're not going to allow slumlords to live in Northwest Fort Pierce. We're going to say, hey, you have to come fix this. You need to come do this. Now, I might make a lot of people mad by that who are landlords, but come to Fort Pierce, come to Northwest Fort Pierce, come to my community and walk around and see some of these apartment buildings and homes that people are living in, and you will be amazed that somebody is paying $14,000, $15,000, $16,000 a month to have a bathroom that works when it wants to work. That's a problem to me. So owning a home is the American dream. And I wish everybody that hears my voice could own a home. But everybody on here knows that's not going to happen. So we have to be able to help people who want to own a home do it. But for the ones who can't get to that dream, but wants to be able to live in a nice apartment and not pay rent and then worry about stuff not working, we have to be there to fight for those people. So it's a twofold thing to me. Help people who want to have the part of American dream. However, for the ones who are trying but can't make it, we have to be the voice for some of these people who are afraid to say something to these landlords because they will get evicted and be out on the street. So that's my answer to that one.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open it up to our other editorial board members to see if they have additional questions. Larry or Adam, do you want to jump in here?
No, thanks, Blake.
Adam, okay. Well, let me go ahead and continue, and we're back to the top of our rotation, so I'll start with Henry on this one. What are your thoughts about the plans to move the wastewater treatment plant from its current location? And if you favor relocation, what role can the city play in making that happen?
Well, removing the plant away from our lagoon, I think it's just a smart idea. We invest a lot in a lot of things, and I don't know the details of what the intent will take to do it, but I think over time, that sounds to me the best environmental decision we can make. When running for county commission, that question was kind of starting to get put up as well. So I would support it. And then to whatever extent we needed to partner with the county or even the cities, Port St. Lucie, it's all of our waterways. And I would make it a water quality issue such as that and hope that all the cities would team up. And the best thing really we could do is just make sure I'm a leader that is a part of the process, I'm easy to work with while also standing for my constituents and reaching out to the different councils, both in Port St. Lucie, in the county level, also the other outer areas that we have, and just all come together to aid in this water quality issue. And in what way we can participate, we can make sure we are at the meetings, make sure that we're not only there with our ideas, but open to others' ideas. And being a city commissioner who, sometimes, goes that extra mile and sets up those meetings with the other governments to make sure we're doing what we can. We all have grant departments, we all have ways to get funding, and we're all elected, after the December 7th, if elected, we'd all be elected. So, we have shown that we have networking power to be able to, represent our constituents. And I'll just be an adamant member, whatever Fort Pierce can do to remove the plant. And once it is removed, whatever we decide to do with it, I would like to see more of a green development over there, and something that is both beneficial to both districts. And I think we need to be very clear about that. I love the developments happening, but a lot of times I don't think we consider to make sure that all of Fort Pierce entrepreneurs, business people, and those who want to invest in properties are a part of the process. Like being commissioner, one of the first things I'm going to do is with the development of the Kings plant to make sure that not only outside people can afford to have a storefront at the property where we're using Fort Pierce District 1 and 2's taxes to pay for. Have we considered that as commissioners? Have we made sure that as a diverse group of local residents who get to participate in that development? These are the things that I think are very important that sometimes get looked over, or maybe, whether on purpose or not, I don't know, but I just know that I'd be adamant to make sure that my constituents are always a part of the development. So whatever I can to be a city commissioner help, I will do whatever that means, both funding and giving ideas. And then of course, my skill set of organizing and bringing people together. And then also making sure whatever the development that is, it is green led. And if there is some kind of development, it allows all the residents who want to participate in business and entrepreneurship and owning storefronts to participate and not making financial gain being, the cap point for some people not putting their storefront at the development for local residents.
Thank you. Arnold, same question. What are your thoughts about relocating the wastewater plant and what you might like to see in that spot if it is relocated?
All right. Common sense would say wastewater near waterways. That's not been the best idea location. I wouldn't mind it moving away from our waterways because we need to save our waterways at all costs. That is still one of our biggest tourism in this area, so that's fine. But what I would look at is this. When we move it, and if it's moved to the location out west, I would like to know, what are we going to do with the land that we move it from? Who's that going to benefit? Is it going to benefit what district, the county, where? Who is it going to benefit? And then when we move it out west, what's the benefits of it being where it is? Are we going to run it at full capacity? Is it running at full capacity now? Those are questions that I would like to get in and look at and research to make a better decision on this move. I don't want it near our waterways. However, you need to look at the cost of moving it versus the benefit of moving it. As I know now, I don't even think it's running at full capacity where it is. So are we just moving it to give the spot to a land developer to make more money for people of Fort Pierce to not be able to use? I don't have those answers to those questions. I'm not on the board, but I will have those answers if elected to be able to tell not only the citizens of District 1, but the citizens of Fort Pierce and St. Lucie County, hey, this is what's really going on. This is why it's moving. This is why it's better to move out west. And yes, we can save our waterways, and this is what is going to benefit everybody in Fort Pierce. So I'm not afraid to say I don't know all the details about that, but I will know if elected of the details. And before I get a vote on it, I will be very thorough and ask all the questions of cost analysis versus benefits.
Thank you. And Reggie, your thoughts on that?
The area in that peninsula and body of land where it exists right now is probably one of the most beautiful peninsulas of land in the surrounding area. Because what it is that land is surrounded by water on almost 3 sides. However, the owner and developer of that land that's in the hands right now of a private owner that's adjacent to the wastewater management cannot build anything, at least something, or attract ownership and develop that land into something recreational or in the form of condominiums with that wastewater treatment plant sitting right beside it. If you've ever been out there on any given day with 80 degrees or higher and the wind is blowing, it's an odor that will knock you out like a Joe Frazier punch. And you don't see it coming because it's in the air. It's a terrible thing. Not to mention that the water being next to the lagoon, the pollution that it brings to the area. So it's a benefit if we can move that plant. But as far as the citizens are concerned, that plant provides a form of utility, and it's wastewater, and it's a service that's owned by the Fort Pierce Utilities Authority that's owned by the city of Fort Pierce. So whatever the arrangement is, we want to first and foremost, make sure that the utility is not impacted. We want to make sure that that wastewater is going to continue to work like it's supposed to. And we want to also make sure that the city, if we're going to give up that particular utility service, that it's going to be beneficial for us to do so. It's a lot of money in wastewater right now. And the city needs to make sure that it plays a very important role in making sure that ultimately that treatment center is moved as quick as possible. It's been done in other cities. Pensacola, Florida, almost identical to the situation here in Fort Pierce. We had the wastewater treatment center right next to one of the most beautiful bodies of water in the city of Pensacola. And they moved it. It was expensive, but they moved it. We've been talking about this for years. The Fort Pierce Utilities Authority, for whatever reasons, are reluctant to do so. I think it has a lot to do with perhaps the cost and what they feel they'll suffer. But ultimately, the citizens will benefit from it, and we'll finally be able to get what we've been looking for as far as that peninsula of land is concerned, if we can move that treatment plant center out west of town.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, we are up against our time limit here. I would like to give each of you a minute to provide sort of a closing argument, and I'd really appreciate it if you could keep it right at 1 minute. Please give the voters your final thoughts on why you would be the best candidate for this race. And let's start with Arnold on this question.
Thank you again for allowing me to come on and answer your questions. I feel I'm the best candidate to win this election this time is because in the past 2 elections I've supported both of I've supported both of my opponents. I've worked with them. I've done whatever they've asked me to do. They know my work in the community. I think it's time for a new voice, someone who is a product of Fort Pierce, who comes from a family who has ties to Fort Pierce back to 1932 of doing community service. I have ties around the country that I could use and tap into to benefit Fort Pierce. I'm in the streets. I'm in the community. And I'm able to reach all areas of the city. I'm lucky enough to have a daughter who's a millennial, so I understand them most of the time. I'm not going to get on here and say I understand them all the time. I have some Generation Zs. I still have my older parents living, so I have able to touch all generations, and I think I could be the voice, the new voice, or a voice for not only District 1, but for the city of Fort Pierce. So my strongest point is uniting everybody. So with that being said, I ask for your vote on December 7th to make me your next commissioner for District 1, Seat 5. Thank you.
Thank you. Reggie, same question. Closing argument, what sets you apart from your two opponents, and why should voters stick with you? And please keep your answer to a minute or so.
I think that right now, what makes me stand out quite a bit is the fact that I bring to the table experience. I have a experience with a proven track record. I've been very passionate and candid about issues in the city of Fort Pierce, where some may have frowned from a political standpoint. However, what was important and most important to me were the citizens that elected me. My track record will indicate and show that I'm not a politician, but what I am is a guardian of those individuals that elected me. And it's something that I take serious. For example, when I say a proven track record, when you look at during this pandemic, how I was the first one to step out when no other local government was in the surrounding area with COVID-19 testing. That was something that people were saying, that's impossible. You're not going to be able to pull that off. And why do you want to do that? And that's a big burden and responsibility. And that's something that government normally doesn't get into. Well, guess what? It's something that I felt necessary in order to protect the well-being and welfare and the citizens of the city of Fort Pierce. And I was determined to do it, and I did it. When it came down to issues such as police brutality in our area, where I realized and understood that there was a gap between our police department and our citizens, I felt the body cameras, where we were guaranteeing that the police officers would conduct themselves accordingly with the body cameras being on at all times. That was an issue that was important. So for the sake of time, the list goes on. I have a proven track record. I have been, along with Commissioner Alexander, a lot of times the minority because we couldn't get the third vote that we needed. That did not discourage me. As a matter of fact, it motivated me because at the end of the day, I feel I'm going to do all I can while I can, the best that I possibly can for the city of Fort Pierce, because that's a city that I feel is the greatest city in the world, and I love it the most, and I'm here to stay. And I enjoyed what I did then, and I'm looking forward to being your city commissioner again, especially in times like these where I feel you need me and I need you. So I'm here, and I'm looking for your support to become the next District 1 city commissioner. Thank you again for this opportunity to address the public.
Thank you. And Henry, will end where we began with you. In a minute or so, can you please tell us why you think you're the best candidate for this particular job?
Sure. And I wouldn't really see it as a job. It's just it's passion for me. I work, being 27, I'm literally a self-made entrepreneur. I have a certain type of life where all I get to do mostly every day is community projects, community service work, whether it's the nonprofits that I work for, or just the things I do on my own time with my own funding, whether that's creating events for young people and older people to come together and share poetry, singing, rapping, and network, or to create events that hand out resources, like on the 24th when we'll be doing an empowerment day in downtown Fort Pierce, to give out free resources to everybody in our community who comes out there, and to give opportunity to local business people to bend down there for free, and to just kind of bring people together. I'm the only candidate that has shown that I can organize not just my people, but all people, and really begin to break down those barriers that exist. I was one of the biggest leaders for the Black Lives Matter movement, not even because I wanted to, just because I kept getting called about how can you help this, do that. And a lot of times when you guys caught pictures of me last year, I was sweating and my shirt was about to be ripped up, because I'm just a hard worker. and my work ethic cannot be beat. It is a very, it's just not. It's just something that my grandma taught me because I was raised in Fort Pierce, Florida. Who better than a 27-year-old man who came up in the Avenue D Boys Choir, graduated from Westwood High School. Instead of going off into other communities to do this same work, I've stayed here from the first time I ran for this very same seat at 24 years old. I've only left to get more information to work for presidential campaigns, Congress campaigns, other political PACs, but I've always stayed here in Fort Pierce. Who better than the seed of Fort Pierce now to team up with the generation that already exists on the commissions with Commissioner Curtis Johnson, representing a generation that has the wisdom and the learning experience of Fort Pierce that we know and have talked about, but also now combining that with a young man from Fort Pierce, from Sunland Garden, who has the same energy and more energy because the young are strong and the older are wise. What better thing to do now than to combine the younger with the older on the city commissions and these changes that are happening? And a young man who's shown that not only does he have ideas, but he's open to listening. Whether you're Black, whether you're white, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, whether you don't believe in anything, whether you're on 25th Street and D, and you're on the corner, and I'm gonna have a full conversation with you. Whether you're at Reisman, people have seen you over the last 4 years in every particular crevice in Fort Pierce. And that is the kind of leadership we need. It's somebody who will not talk about what is happening, but knows that things are already happening and preparing District 1 to be a part of it. I will always be action. I will go beyond the city government walls to get the funding that we need if I have to. I will network with whoever I have to. I've already messaged a plethora of mayors and even the current chair lady of HUD through Instagram. And you wouldn't believe the people who respond on Instagram and begin the work that I need to do. I have meetings set up next week with different trade facilities to work on my Build to Work platform to get people certified within District 1 and straight to work, straight to apprenticeships. So what makes me different is the actions, because we've had a long time, and it's sad that everyone knows that District 1 is not getting their part. And what I learned from running for county commissions is that I really love Fort Pierce. That's what I learned. I love Fort Pierce. Give me the opportunity. Give the youth, stop telling us. Give us the chance, the young that you raise, to be the change in their own community. And let me shine a light for other young people to move back here and be the change. That is the only action I think that matters, because we're not dealing with just regular politics. We're dealing with a community that will be lost if we don't get it right very soon. And I believe voting for Duhart on December 7th will give us the final chance we need to not just bring Henry to City Hall, but everyone in District 1 to City Hall in a more productive, progressive, and ownership type of way. Thank you so much. I'm Henry Duhart. 3 times the charm is what my grandma said, so that's what we're doing.
Thank you to all the candidates. Larry, would you like to wrap us up with some final comments about how people can view this interview online in the future?
Sure. Well, if thank you to the candidates for coming, and thank you for everybody who watched the telecast today. You can look at candidate interviews. You can look at their questionnaires that they answered at tcpalm.com/opinion or /elections. TCPalm will continue to cover elections throughout the Treasure Coast and in Fort Pierce in the coming weeks as we lead up to the November and December elections. So thank you once again for participating, candidates. Again, it was a great hour or so, and we'll catch you next time. Good luck with everything, and thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.